What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports Morning Show. I'm your host, Mangone. We're talking some sports. We're not talking too much DFS today, but hey, there will be some DFS relevance to what we talk about. If you want to get a leg up on some of the NFL draft stuff, that's what we're here to talk about. I'm sure I'll discuss some of my bets too. I put some bets in, nothing too crazy so far, but I'm excited to be here with Bruce. We'll talk about the draft. We'll talk about different players. We'll talk about what impacts they could have, what teams we think they go to. Should be a lot of fun. And we're not going to talk about all these like linemen, and defensive ends. We'll definitely discuss them, but we'll try to talk about some position players and where we think they could go, what kind of impacts they could have. Should be a fun time. And we got our college football guy who's watched all of this. I definitely watched some college football with Bruce. He's helped me out a ton during the college football season, and he knows all these players really well. Bruce, how is your day? And are you excited for the draft here?
Going well. Just taking a little break from work, and I did a lot of research last night, and days leading up to this to try and give us some good info. It's a really wide open draft. I mean, there's no, there's a lot of people that can go in the top 10. Can go any direction. So it's definitely really interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of wide open. At least that's what I've noticed. We'll see how it all plays out. The thing I'm most interested in is the receivers. Where on earth they go in the first round, and we're obviously not figuring out what's happening in round 4. You just don't know. But we're mainly talking about round 1. We'll talk about some other guys that like talented players that'll fall out, like all those running backs that aren't going to be making it into the first round. Brock with some great info in the YouTube chat to get me riled up. Might as well hear how the Packers can screw it up this year too, which I'm a Packers fan, and they do find a way to screw it up. But not only do they have one way to screw it up this year, Bruce, they have 2 ways to screw it up, right? Because they got 2 first-round picks. So if they pass on a receiver twice, then I don't know what they're doing. So we'll have to see. That is one thing I'm very interested in, because I was kind of thinking about the Packers last night. And Bruce, when I'm thinking about it, I said, how can we get like Jamar Chase? You know what I mean? Like the impact receiver that, like, if we make a Super Bowl run, he can actually have one of those big runs. So we'll talk about that when we get to the receivers, though, because that's one thing that was on my mind that I'm very curious about. But let's kick it off at the top and just talk about some of these guys up there. Let's talk about the first, top 5 picks, where we think they're going to go. Now, of course, these are definitely some boring conversation points, but hey, we got to talk about them, right? Who do you think goes number 1? That's the big question. Is it Walker? Is it Hutchinson? Is it a surprise guy? I think it's going to be Walker. I placed a bet on Walker when it was plus 110. It moved to minus 200. I think you can make arguments now, Bruce. Like, listen, I might have Walker at the price that I have, but if I was wagering at this time, I don't think I would go and bet on Walker, right, at the minus 200, because we don't really know what's going to happen. It sounds like Walker is the fit. What's your thoughts here on like these guys at the top? I'm trying to pull up the odds now and just see what they're currently at, because I personally think Walker at minus 200, I wouldn't go with. I'd probably go with one of the other guys. Would you go with Hutchinson? Would you go with Walker still at the minus 200 and just say, eat that? Or would you go with more of a long shot, or maybe just spend your money in another spot? I mean, there's so many other ways you can bet the draft if you like.
Yeah, I think I'm passing, unless you caught it plus money. I don't love it. I really do think Walker is going to be the top pick. I'm just hearing all the reports so far. He's such a twitchy guy. Georgia's scheme didn't really use him too well, and I think that's why he kind of flew under the radar for a bit. And most people thought Hutchinson would be the guy. But Dan Campbell's probably licking his chops knowing that Hutchinson's going to fall to him, because that's like the perfect pick for him. He's talked about biting people's kneecaps and all that good stuff. So yeah, Hutchinson is that guy for the Lions, I think, if he gets there.
Yeah, Hutchinson and Dan Campbell, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go grab 9 shots of espresso in the morning in their cup of coffee. Seems like a guy for Dan Campbell for sure. It does seem like Hutchinson's going too. Let's say, Bruce, so you can get really crazy. I'm trying to find it on DK. I know FanDuel doesn't have them, but they have the props where you can just get like the exacto, right? You can get like what you think the order is going to be. So here it is, exact order. Okay, pulling it up now. Well, there's the first 2 ones. Where's the first 3? You know what? DK took those down. You know why? They felt like they were giving up too many. They didn't like the odds that they were giving up. So right now they have Walker and Hutchinson as the 1-2 at -175. You can definitely shop these around and find them on different books. I can't log into all my books right now because we're on Zoom and Zoom doesn't let you. So, but Hutchinson and Walker 1, Hutchinson 2 is what my guess would be. What about 3, right? And you can go and do these exacto, draft ones and find some really good odds. You can get like the 1 through 4 as well. So who do you think then hits the 3 spot? Because I'm with you. If I had to like play the guessing game and I was making my own draft, it'd probably be Walker 1 and then it'd be a Hutchinson. But then once you get to 3, it gets really interesting. The Texans are up. You can always make arguments that, hey, they have a lot of needs. So like, what is the most important need? I mean, is it in the safety? Is it a safety or a cornerback? Is it an offensive tackle? I do think when you have these drafts where there's linemen, just like eat a lineman and like build for the future. That's what I typically would do. They're not sexy picks, but they're very valuable picks. I think back to when the Packers won their Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Well, they had a rookie in Brian Bulaga, and Bulaga was a great player for a long time. It was a really boring pick at the time, I remember, and I was like, this is a boring pick, but looking back after they won the Super Bowl, he played an integral part of being on that offensive line. So these picks can definitely have a big impact. They can have a big impact early. What's your thoughts here on the 3rd pick?
Yeah, I really like Ekwonu there for the Texans. There's going to be edge rushers in the 2nd round for them. They do need a receiver as well, or 2. Like you said, they have tons of needs there. So, I really like them starting up front with Ekwonu there. He's just such a great blocker. He doesn't look the part really, but when you watch him on tape, he gets downfield, gets to that 2nd level, and just tears people apart, gets to those linebackers, and once he gets his hands on you, you're done. So I really like him for the Texans there.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it on the DK app because so right now, number 3 pick, Ekwoni's plus 350. You got Thibodeau, he's at plus 400. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Gardner plus right. 400, Walker then plus 400. The other one I noticed was an interesting one was Stingley at plus 400. I thought he was one that I think they could go that route if they don't go with the lineman. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like Gardner a little bit better than Stingley. I think most boards have Sauce Gardner up there a little bit higher.
Okay,
but I think they're interchangeable. They're both solid, defensive backs. So.
I think it's either lineman or defensive back, right? And that's like, so sometimes you can chop these around and make different wagers based on let's say you do think it's going to be a defensive back. You can maybe do like Texans to draft defensive back or something like that. So there's routes to definitely mess around with this. Look at those exactos. So those are a lot of fun. If you want to just throw a couple bucks on it, you can turn out and get something that's like 100 to 1 or even 60 to 1. And, if you hit those, that's like big. If you're just like betting on the draft, like if you hit one of those, I mean, you're just set for the entire thing. So I think those are really interesting to look at. Let's talk about the number 4 one. Who do you think goes there? I've heard conversations of like teams could trade up, right? I mean, this is one of those drafts where it's really boring. And it seems like when it's a boring draft, right, it makes sense to move down and gain picks, but also on the flip side, who wants to trade up and get guys? So the key is, when does like the FOMO come of guys being like, man, there's this one player that I really, really want, or there's conversations of let's try and beat other teams to get to this one, right? Like for instance, the first receiver off the board is supposed to be Drake London. At least it could be Jameson Williams, but there's talks of the Falcons being the team to do that. So let's say like the Jets, who are behind them, want to just make a move up and try and beat them up there. They might jump up to 5 or 6 to steal a receiver, right? So we could see that even at the 4 spot. And if you look, the Jets are at the 4 spot, but they're not going to probably take him at 4. I doubt that. But there's tons of conversations about teams moving up, right? I doubt the Jets are going to take a receiver at 4, but they could do it, right? If they get worried, maybe they move back. But it's going to be a really interesting draft. I don't really know exactly how it's all going to play out. Who do you think goes at 4? Do you think a receiver could go yet, or is that too soon?
Yeah, I think that's a little too soon. I think the Jets, they probably want a cornerback or an edge rusher. It's weird that 3 of the 4 top projected picks could be edge rushers here, but I think if they go edge rusher, they could get the Thibodeau there, or they can even trade back and get one of the 2 remaining cornerbacks if Gardner or Stingley don't go. or just draft one of those two guys there. So, I like Thibodeau there. They're in need of some defensive players. So yeah, I would start there. They have their quarterback, I think, or at least they're going to commit to him for a little while.
He's their guy. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I'm with you. Sometimes you look at these quarterbacks and we're like, okay, that's not my guy, but it's their guy. So they are going to commit to Zach Wilson. And to be fair to Zach Wilson, as the year went on, he did get better. He did improve. I'm curious to see how it plays out. But the nice thing for the Jets is like they have a lot of picks going forward where I think they made a smart move when they got rid of Adams to really be able to gain a bunch of picks. And they have so many needs that like I was perfectly fine with what they're doing and be able to get these picks. It's going to be huge for them to be able to grab someone at the 4 spot and the 10 spot for the future. So I hope they do get a receiver. I think they're regardless going to get one at that 10 spot. I guess the question is, do they move up to get a guy that's like they're specifically targeting? That's going to be the key. We'll talk about that when we kind of get to more of the receivers. Let's talk about the Giants, I guess, next. They have a couple picks here. I assume they're going to go with like a tackle, but they're a team like, I forget what the stat was. I think it's in the last 3 years, they have like no Pro Bowlers. And I know Pro Bowl is not everything, right? But like, one, it's not hard to get in the Pro Bowl these days. And two, it's like, I mean, like you have so many needs if you haven't had a Pro Bowler in that long, right? I mean, your team is absolutely awful. So what is your thoughts on the Giants? Like, do you think they trade down like and try and just like gain some more picks? Or do you think they just kind of, grab some offensive linemen and just keep building up that team?
Yeah. They also need a corner as well. So, they can draft their offensive tackle there. You have Neal available. They need a good tackle. And then, they have a pick 2 picks later there too. So yeah, they can pretty much do what they want. Just draft the best available offensive lineman and then get their cornerback 2 picks later or vice versa, whatever they think Carolina is going to do there in between. I think Carolina needs a quarterback, so they're probably not too worried with whatever order they select. So, but yeah, I like Neal there or maybe Stingley or Gardner.
All right. Yeah. I mean, you're telling me Sam Darnold's not the future or the Panthers not going for Baker Mayfield. We'll have to see. It should be interesting. Oof. And things are going to happen we don't even expect, right? Like actually the chat brought up something that's interesting. Like Deebo Samuels, like is he going to randomly get traded somewhere in this draft? Like, is that just going to happen on draft day? I don't know if you saw it. Did you see Deebo was at the club and the bottle service girl came out and it said, Deebo staying in San Francisco. And there was a cut to him just hitting like it's not happening. So he's going to get traded. It's just the question is when, and draft day is definitely a day that he could get traded. Have you heard any like rumors about where he could be going? Some people are saying the Jets in the chat, which it could make some sense.
Yeah. That would make sense since they need a wide receiver and they have number 10. So,
and his old coach is there, right? I mean, not Shanahan, right? But he's D coordinator, but still like it's still some familiarity is kind of nice.
Yeah, that would be a good pickup for them. Then they, I don't know what it's going to take to get him. I haven't heard any rumors on that, but they have that number 10 there too, and number 4. So yeah, that could shake up the draft tremendously. So that'll be interesting to see in the lead up to it.
Yep. And Walla Dos says the Giants should go for an offensive lineman and then a cornerback or whatever else at 7. Sort of agree. Like just keep get things that are actually going to help you going forward. Stop with these position players. I wonder what they do with Tony too. Have you heard any rumors on what they're doing with him? I haven't heard too much, but that was like a rumored conversation.
Yeah, I think he's probably gone. I've heard a lot of rumors on that as well. So yeah, I don't know why, unless there's a lot of red flags. I know coming into the draft, there was quite a few. So, but he's a good player. When he wasn't injured last year, he looked fantastic. I know us in DFS, we enjoyed him. So.
Yep, agreed. So this is where it starts getting real fun. We start getting to the guys I care about, the position players, right? The DFS guys care about as well, because the first conversation of like a real like position player that we want to talk about is like at the 8 spot, the Falcons. And I don't know if the Falcons will definitely do that. So I could see the Falcons trading down from this possibly, and then trying to maybe get like a quarterback later, because there are rumors they're not happy with like being stuck with what their situation is right now. Tons of things could happen here. Do you think that Drake London goes, like, who do you think the first receiver is off the board? Do you think it's to Atlanta? Do you think it's to the Texans? Maybe it's to the Jets. Like, I think the Jets is definitely a candidate that could be the number one receiver. Pick goes at 10 spot. What's your thoughts here? Let's talk about which receiver you think goes first, but which one, and then which one do you think should go first? Like, which one's your favorite of all the receivers?
I like Traylon Burks, but I see projections for him late first.
Oh wow, Burks is your number one. If you had the pick, you have Burks one.
Yeah, I love his upside. He's so fast. He's just a total package for me. I see Jamison Williams rising up draft boards right now. He's really fast, but it's just a little too slight for me. But yeah, I love Traylon Burks as my favorite. I think Garrett Wilson's going to go top 10 possibly, maybe to the Jets there if they don't make any moves leading up to the draft. He's just a solid player. 4.3, 840. Long arms, big hands, big wingspan. So he can go up and get the football in the end zone as well. So I like him going first. But yeah, Traylon Burks is up there for me. I don't know why he's projected like late first. It just seems strange. I guess his speed, he is 4.5, 40, which is kind of slower, but he ran away from everybody on Alabama on that one play where he scored that long touchdown. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a beautiful thing to watch. He just ran away from everybody. I mean, the 4.55 speed isn't really his game speed. So.
Yeah, well, so I think one reason why like Jamison could end up going first is because the 4.2, 540, right? Like, I mean, people like it's just people like they love to see these guys and like their speed and think about it. But yeah, I mean, game speed definitely can be different sometimes. Sometimes you remember, when you watch on like Red Zone on Sundays and it says like this guy is actual speed in the game, and like it's just like a guy you didn't expect. It's like, I mean, sometimes these guys just ramp it up there. So and Williams, the key is the injury, right? But it sounds like the injury is getting not that it's getting better, but it sounds like he's on track, right? Or it could even be ahead of schedule, where that kind of makes you kind of jump on these guys a little bit earlier as you kind of lead up into the draft. So so wow, so you have Burks first, which is like, I don't think everyone expected to hear that for sure. I'm someone who's a Packers fan. I was hoping that we can get like a Burks or like a Dotson down there. I was hoping, like, I assumed Wilson, Williams, and London would all be gone, right? So I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about them too much. Yep. That's interesting to hear. We'll talk about Burks in a little bit to see where you think he goes. You just said, I believe you said Wilson, you think is the first one taken off the board. Where do you see like Williams and London going? Do you have any reads on where you think they could land? Do you think they kind of go after that? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, with Williams kind of getting this late run up draft boards here lately. I've been hearing him a lot. I think a lot of people were scared off by the injury initially, but he's still a good player. He's fast as hell. So I could see him going in that 18-20 range, somewhere in there, like Philly or New Orleans. Both of those teams need wide receivers. Him or like a Drake London could go in that range. Drake London's also really good. He didn't run the 40 at the combine, but if you watched him on Saturdays, he catches everything. He's 6'4", just a great wingspan as well. So those two guys are kind of interchangeable for me. I think London is a little bit slower. He's not the fastest wide receiver, but he catches everything. It would be a great fit for either the Eagles or the Saints.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, definitely London sounds like a good fit for Jameis, right? Someone just can go up and get it sometimes. I love Jameis. He's definitely gotten better, but London would be a good fit for the Saints there. And the Saints definitely need a receiver. That's something that they should definitely be looking at. Where do you, let's go down the board a little bit with these receivers. So where do you think, I know you like Burks more. Where do you think you go with like Burks versus like Dotson versus Olave? Like, do you think one of them, like, do you think Burks gets jumped or jumps over one of them? Because I mean, I got some mock drafts that say that Burks goes like in like the 20s. Some say he goes in the high teens. Just depends where you look, right? I have one that I'm looking at now. It says Dotson to the Packers like at 18, which like, hey, Packers at 18. If we can grab a receiver, I'm gonna be very happy. I wouldn't. It always depends on how the draft goes. If there's like, let's say that I don't know if London's like the best example. I think London they'll probably all be gone, but like if Olave's still there, right? There might be like 3 receivers that like they are targeting, or maybe even there's 4 where they might just wait till 24, right? So where do you think those next like 3 through 6 go, or 4 through 6?
I think Olave is going to go first round, of course. It's kind of tough to pick between him and Wilson. I think Wilson's kind of the Olave's kind of the better route runner there. Just smaller and doesn't use his body as well as Wilson does. I love Dotson. I think he's underrated as well. Him and Burks, I would put them in the same basket. I think Dotson should go first round, maybe late. There's a couple of teams at the bottom of the first round that need a wide receiver, like the Lions. Lions have a decent offensive team. They just need a couple more playmakers on offense. So I do like him. Maybe like a Sky Moore could also sneak his way into the first round. I love playing him. He's just a little bit smaller, but he's a gamer, and 4'4", 140 as well. So he is quick enough to play that position.
Yeah, I definitely heard some Sky Moore talk going up the board. We got Pickens too and Mechie. We haven't talked too much about them yet. Like, do you think they somehow sneak in the first round? Or are they like a late second? I feel like they'll be second round guys that like JC and I were going to be on Friday talking about after the draft happens. I could definitely see like those guys being like, the early seconds or mid second round guys that people jump in and grab. What's your thoughts on them?
Yeah, with Pickens, there's not many players that are 6'4", like 200 that run as fast as he does. 4'40". That's that's not a dime a dozen, really. The things you got to look at, there's some red flags there supposedly that is scaring teams off. Also, his injury history. He's been injured a little bit. So yeah, that's something to look at. Mechie, I think, will be a second or third rounder. But I like him as well. He did it in the SEC. Anytime you see any of these SEC guys that did well against future NFL corners, they have to be in consideration.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right. Late second, early third. But you never know how things change throughout the draft. So, but definitely like names that if you played college football, DFS, and names that you'll be seeing in the NFL, right? Like regardless, you saw JJ Arcega-Whiteside, even though he hasn't panned out, you saw him, right? We're gonna have to figure out if we need to play him at 3K or whatever terrible price tag you get him at. And of course, we like playing showdown. So sometimes those cheap guys, they get the job done. So definitely fun to talk about. Guys, if you could please like and subscribe to the video, helps us out a ton over here at Run Pure Sports. We appreciate it. Also want to mention, if you haven't played some NFL best ball, now is a great time to do it. Right when the draft ends, I'm sure you'll be able to get some really big edges on the people. So use that code Run Pure, get you $100 match deposit bonus. Also, if you haven't signed up at Run Pure Sports, we got all the sports going on. Got the playbook, which gives you a full breakdown of what's going to happen for each slate. Then you get the core plays as well, which gives you the cores for what's going to, basically our favorite plays of the day and the guys that we are putting into our lineups. Bruce, because I have you here and you do the USFL stuff, tell people a little bit about that. I'll admit I didn't play last week, but it was kind of just because I didn't realize it locked on Friday. I noticed this week it locks on Saturday. So I think I'll try and dabble back in. How about you tell the people week 1 was a dud? We all figured that out on Twitter, but how was week 2? Did it feel a little bit better? Did you feel like you gained some more information? What's your thoughts so far on the USFL 2 weeks in?
Yeah, there was big edge this week. Just from watching all the games, kind of seeing how each team plays defense and offense. There's always going to be those duds, from week to week in this league, just because things change and you don't have any reporters out there giving info. But Yeah, it went solid. So always join us for that. I think most people did well, especially on they have like the 2 game slates for you know for the for each individual day as well, and we did well on those.
Well, I did learn this weekend that Jeff Fisher is still doing terrible things, just running the football. And I learned it sounds like not the Saints. What's it called? New Orleans team. What is their name, Bruce?
The Breakers.
Yeah, it sounds like them and Slaughter are like the best offense, right? Like the offense that's like out there, like throwing the most and the one to target. Like if you're playing and like I only had to tell you one thing, I'd probably say stack up that offense. Like that would be my guess every week. But of course, I'm sure it comes with ownership. But yeah, that's what I heard and read. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah, let's go back in and kind of talk about some of these other options. Since we're hitting that spot in the draft, right? The 20 spot. That's where a quarterback might go first. I think it's the Steelers is like the team that might take QB first. Now, could teams trade up and jump up and grab them? We see it almost every year. It feels like quarterbacks are like a team that are a position that people like jump in the draft up to. And like, it just gains steam like as the week goes on, especially leading up. But this year it really hasn't. So I don't think it's going to randomly happen. I don't think the Seahawks are just going to surprise us and take one earlier on. I do think the Steelers are going to take a quarterback regardless. Like, what do you think about that? That's one bet I made. I got the Steelers at like -110 to take a quarterback. You can also bet it where you just say, hey, the Steelers to take a specific quarterback. I know some drafts say Kenny Pickett. Some say Malik Willis. The thing I believe about Malik Willis is the Steelers, they have talked up Malik Willis. They've gone to almost every single one of his pro days. I think I heard Mike Tomlin had lunch with him. I mean, it's just like they are all about Malik Willis, it sounds like. So if he is there, I think they take him, and you can make Malik Willis at +200 as a bet. So do you think it's Malik Willis? Do you think it's Kenny Pickett? And do you feel safe about just it being a quarterback no matter what happens?
Yeah, it's rough. I think there's going to be quarterback going to the Panthers, of course. They really need a QB, and also possibly Atlanta. They traded Matt Ryan, so it's that's an interesting spot. Just because if those 2 top QBs are gone, who do they take? Do they take Ritter? Do they take Corral? What if Malik Willis is gone? There's 2 teams up there that need QB. So
I could also see teams trading down, right? This is where I could see like the Falcons at 8 trading down to like maybe 15 or 16 to gain more picks. And like, again, I don't know what they're going to get, right? But you can gain a lot. Like it's big. And then from there, you get the quarterback that you want. And like, let's say there's a guy that was taken that you like. Drake London's like fine, right? Drake London's a good receiver, but let's say there's a receiver later on, like a Burks. They're able to somehow grab like the 24 pick, and then they're also able to grab the like 15 pick, and they get a quarterback and a receiver. Like those are just things that can happen. Now I know the scenario I said might not be for sure what goes on, but that's just routes that teams will definitely think about. But they also need suitors to be like, I want to go up and get something. That's the other key. So that's why this draft is really interesting. I feel like it's going to be very unpredictable. And if there's like 1 or 2 trades made, it's just going to shake everything up and make it really intriguing. So yeah, I'm with you on, I think the Steelers just take Malik Willis no matter what. But the question is, if he's gone, then do they still take a quarterback? I don't know, but my lean is they still take a quarterback no matter what. What do you think so let's go back to the one question I asked you before. Which quarterback do you think goes first? And then how would you rank them? Like, what's your order, Bruce? Do you think it's going to be, if you had to pick, like we're going through the quarterbacks here, Kenny Pickett is one of them. Then you got Malik Willis. You got Corral, who's I'm a big fan of. I liked watching him. Curious to see how he plays, especially after he got hurt, right? People are always worried about that. Sam Howell's another quarterback. Ritter, I don't think Ritter goes as the first quarterback, but you never know. Some of these teams, they just key in on a quarterback and it just baffles your mind. Like if you think back to Mitch Trubisky, I didn't expect the Bears to take Mitch Trubisky at the spot that they took, but sometimes teams do crazy things and they hold their cards close to the vest. So Bruce walked away and he's just answering the door real quick. So once he comes back, what I do want to find out is I want to find out who his favorite quarterback is. Like you talked about Burks being his favorite receiver, wondering if it's Willis, Howell, Ritter, Pickett, or Corral. And then I'm curious also if what he thinks. Maybe the chat can let me know while Bruce is answering the door what they think, because quarterback is always a fun talking point. in the draft. And again, it's like a weird year for quarterback. It's one of those things where I'm pretty surprised that there's no quarterbacks going a lot higher. It just every year, it seems like quarterbacks just shoot up the board. Even in February, you see one quarterback is up there and you say, oh, there'll be 3 more up there in the top 10 by the end of the draft. And what do you know? There's always like a bunch of quarterbacks up there. And that's the reason I think the Steelers should just take a quarterback no matter what. I think the Steelers should take a quarterback because let's say it fails. Well, then next year, they'll just take another quarterback, right? There'll be one up at the top of the board. That's probably really good. I doubt we see 2 years in a row where that's the case. They could just do what the Cardinals did with Kyler Murray and Josh Rosen. They took Rosen. It didn't work out. And then next year, you know what they said? Josh Rosen's not our guy. Let's move on. They trade him for what they could. And then they just said, hey, we're going to take one of the best quarterbacks up at the top. And so far it's worked out for Arizona. I think you could argue, you know, if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, yes, it hasn't worked out yet, but I know Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are having some issues. So that is one reason why, I think the Steelers, they should just take Malik Willis. And then if it doesn't work out, they just go and, kind of take whatever quarterback's up at the top next year, because if it doesn't work out, then they probably had a really bad record. So Bruce, I stalled as long as I could for you. Your camera just went off again. So pop the camera back on. Is your audio working, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. I had the termite guys here to spray for termites. So perfect timing.
You're good. I had the stall, and as I was going to throw you the question, you sent me the message. So I didn't see that coming, but we stalled. Right. We got it done. So this was the question I wanted to ask you about the quarterbacks, Bruce. I wanted, kind of like the receivers, like rank the top 5. Like if you were a prospect and you had to rank these guys, how do you rank Willis, Pickett, Corral, Ritter, Howell? And then how do you think they go? I guess you could say, like, where do you think that? Because I think order wise, I don't think that I don't think like a Howell's going to go in like the top 3 of those quarterbacks, but maybe you think he's the best one. I don't know. You surprised me with the receiver one. So I'm curious to hear your rankings and then where you think they go.
I like Willis as the one, but I think Pickett's going to go 1. There's some issues there with his, with his hand size. 8.5 inches is really a small hand for a QB. Malik Willis is, I just like his upside. His ability to run the football and pass. Ritter as well. Same kind of player, but Willis more explosive for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you think of do you think Ritter could just go before everyone and shock people just because he's like a talented player and I don't know. I don't think he should go there, but just so much unknown, betting wise, that's a guy that I think you get some crazy odds on. I was trying to pull it up now and see what they're at. But what do you think? I guess, do you think there's any chance that a guy like Ritter could go early? You're dealing with the termite guy, so I'll talk with the chat a little bit while you're dealing with that. But said teams are passing on QB this year. Brock said, and you're right. The quarterbacks, they are going to be passed on a ton. I think if I was picking, I think I'd go with Corral. I'm a big Corral fan. I watched him in college. I think he was absolutely awesome. Definitely my favorite. All right, Bruce, you're back. Give me the quarterbacks here. What are we doing?
It's Corral's going to go under the radar. I think. I still, I love him. I think he's going to go 2nd or 3rd round, but I think he's got top round talent. Just because his ability as a gamer. He's just my favorite QB. Supposedly he has some red flags too. He got into a fight with Wayne Gretzky's son in high school. And there's some other things there, but
listen, Bruce, I love Wayne Gretzky, but Wayne Gretzky's son has probably lived a good life and probably is a little bit spoiled. So maybe he deserved it.
He had it coming. Yeah. Yeah, he's had some other quotes about rich kids and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he just doesn't love the love the spoiled rich kid.
Matt Corral is a gamer, right? He cares about my DFS lineups. He could only have one leg, and I think he'd go back out there for me. So I appreciate him. He's a gamer, so he's my favorite quarterback. Now I don't know if that's bias. I'm not sitting there, analyzing the hand size and all that stuff, but I do think he's my favorite. So I like hearing that you think he's your favorite if you had to pick, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. I like him. I think another guy that can go under the radar is also Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky. He was one of our favorite players on those random Western Kentucky slates. Where he'd throw for 8 touchdowns, and he's just a little bit of a smaller QB, just over 6 foot. Not exactly the most athletic, but yeah, he's just a complete passer. He can make all the throws. He's just probably go the last day of the draft, but he's just a gamer and makes all the plays. Same for Sam Howell. We haven't discussed him yet, but he's he's a gamer as well. And his offensive line at North Carolina was just horrendous this last year. He got beat up. He does hold the football for a little too long, but he's a solid QB.
Yeah, Josh in the chat said Howell took a step back when he lost his weapons, and I agree. But like the point you can make is like the line, right? Like line is more important than offensive weapons, in my opinion. Now, and in college, maybe you can make the argument it's a little bit different, but offensive line play is very important to me. So that's one thing that I was a little concerned about when I was looking at, Howell and, at the start of the year, I was like, well, why is he so bad? And then it kind of like came out that, hey, like this offensive line is pretty bad. So that was one of the issues that he had to deal with, earlier on in the year that I don't think we all expected it to just be as bad as it was. Who's the guy who duds of the quarterbacks? Like there's always one, right? There's always, Ryan Leaf's out there. Of course, Ryan Leaf was taken to the top, and he's just like the poster boy for this conversation. But who's the quarterback up here that you think just like duds of like this top 5?
I think it's Ritter. He's just, there's just something about him this last year. He has arm strength issues. His accuracy took a big hit this year as well, and just holds on to the football too long, processes, takes him too long to process plays. He's just a project. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Is it going to work or is it not? So I don't see it with him. I see a lot of people talking about him getting drafted in the first round. I don't see it. What about you?
I sadly agree. Like I think it's him, or I don't think it's Howell though. I'm not a huge Howell guy. I like Pickett still. I think Pickett will still be fine, but like it's not someone I'm like betting on being really good. I mean, you could easily have a draft where there's only one quarterback that's good. So like that could easily happen. It could be a really bad quarterback draft. It probably is Ritter, like you said. And it pains me to say it just because I loved him in DFS, right? But he's like Tebow, right? He won all the games in college, right? He was a stud at the place he was at, but it's just probably not going to work out at the next level for him. So, but I would not, it only takes one, right? It only takes one team to like have a crazy take and do something. And we always make fun of these teams and say, oh, how could they do this? And they just always do something crazy. So it wouldn't shock me to see him go in round 1. It also wouldn't shock me to see him go as like the first quarterback. You just mind is absolutely blown. It just, sometimes it happens. And if you got a take on it, maybe you take a long shot on it. But I don't think that's the spot to do it. Let's talk about the running backs, because running back this year, man, you are not going to see any generational running back in the first round. It's just not the year for that. So I believe you can still get Breece Hall at like even money to be the first running back off the board. I remember I looked the other day and it seemed like that was still up there. Maybe it's not, but I think he's going to be the first guy to go. There's talks with Kenneth Walker being the number 2 running back right behind him. And I think that's where like the real debate is. Is it going to be Walker? Is it going to be Hall? Of course, running back, in my opinion, it doesn't matter that much in the NFL. I mean, yes, there are some guys where it matters, but who do you think is the guy? Is it Hall? Is it Walker? And like, do you even think they should go in round 2? Do you think there's guys later on that are just better values? Like James Cook is someone that comes to mind. He's Dalvin Cook's brother. Grab him later on in the draft. And one thing I like about like a guy like a James Cook, I like that he hasn't taken a beating, right? He's not someone who's like just been like ran into the ground. Like Kenneth Walker, maybe he ends up being really durable. Like same with Breece Hall. Maybe he just ends up being durable and plays for a long time, but not being beaten to the ground is definitely something that I think has a little bit of value. Like Tony Pollard is a guy that like, he didn't get beaten to the ground in college and he just looks phenomenal. I don't understand why he's stuck behind Zeke Elliott. So what's your thoughts here on these running backs here?
Yeah, the Zeke Elliott thing comes to mind when we talk running backs and being drafted high, because that pains me every time I hear it. So But yeah, I think Kenneth Walker is probably going to be the first back taken here. He broke 89 tackles this year in the Big Ten, which that's crazy. And for being as big as he is, almost 220, running a 4.38, that's crazy. And he catch the ball too. So it's a big debate for me whether Hall or Walker should go one. Hall is very similar. Both these backs have been run into the ground, as you said. Most more Hall than Walker. He was running the ground at Iowa State. But yeah, both those guys run sub 4.4 40s at almost 220 pounds, which you don't see that very often. But yeah, second round guys, which is about where they should be. Running back isn't as important in the NFL these days, with offenses kind of changing. You got more mobile quarterbacks that can run the football as well. Yeah, there's guys in the late rounds that could go. You mentioned Cook, maybe like an Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M, also a solid back, only 20 years old, has very good vision, not as fast. That's kind of why he's dropping. 4.6 340 is not the fastest there. But yeah, him. I like Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama. He's probably a late fourth round guy, but he's just so big and he did it in the SEC. So yeah, I like him. Another guy that I kind of like a little bit more than most is Rashad White from Arizona
That's the one,
State.
Bruce. That's what I was just going to say him to you. I was going to say the guy that we used to watch late nights on Saturday that I know you were a big fan of and I liked watching too is Rashad White. I think he could be like a sneaky guy DFS wise that like rises up that we kind of get exposure to for sure.
Yeah, he was Arizona State's leading receiver. That's crazy to say about a running back, but yeah, he's just a good player. So yeah, he's a guy that I'd pick. He's projected for like the 5th round, which you can just wait and make that pick. 6 foot 215, just fast and catch the ball. So yeah, I love him.
I'll give you one more like do it all guy, like can catch, can like run, like Kyron Williams. He's a guy you can get later too. That like I don't know. Obviously like I think Breece Hall's better than Kyron Williams, but like if you want to just wait on guys, I think you can wait on some of these and just like wait to see where the chips fall. I don't think that's a bad route to take. So it should be interesting. Bruce, before you go to the tight ends, I do want to talk about the tight ends with you because you are the tight end guy, right? Like, so I kind of forgot that we should even talk about them because there's not many like important ones to really mention, but we'll definitely talk about the tight ends. But guys, if you could like and subscribe to the video, helps us out a ton. We appreciate it over here at Run Pure Sports. Also want to mention the schedule that we have for this week for the morning show. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So we will have me and Hoop. Hoop will be back. We're going to talk golf and we're going to talk about my, basically my MME pool. We're going to go through, dive in, build it out. Should be an interesting golf week. I mean, John Rahm is like, I think he's plus 400, which is like crazy odds that you really never see. Daniel Berger withdrew. So that was, big news that happened. And we'll talk about John Rahm's ownership at the top. And then we'll kind of build out my player pool for my lineups. So that'll be a lot of fun. Then after that, on Thursday, we got Day Baseball with DC. So he will be back. It'll be fun talking Day Baseball with him. I believe that's like kind of like the main slate for the day too. I believe there's always a good main slate at night, but it's got more games for the earlier one. So Thursday, be sure to come back for that. And then Friday after the draft, come back. I mean, if you're here now talking draft on the Tuesday, you're going to want to be here on Friday to talk about what happened. JSU will be here breaking down, like, hey, who went at what spots? What are some other team needs maybe for round 2 that we see? So should be a fun time. You do not want to miss out on that. But Bruce, let's talk about the tight end position. You love tight ends in the college football streets. So who are some of your favorites? And there's no guys going at the top like last year. But who do you think are some of the sleeper picks? Maybe it's like a Jelani Woods. I loved watching him at Virginia. He was a good time. Thought he was really talented and looked like he could be really good in the NFL. Who are some guys you're looking at?
Yeah, I'd start with Trey McBride from Colorado State. He caught everything in college. He's just a good all around tight end. Same with like a Greg Dulcich from UCLA. Both those guys, I think, are projected in the top 2 or 3 rounds. Nothing in the first round. It's just doesn't make much sense to draft a tight end there. But yeah, Jelani Woods, love him. He should go in the top 3 or 4 rounds there. Um, there's just so many, and our guy Charlie Kohler as well. He's a big tight end, 6'6", 250, ran a 4.62 40. Going back to Trey McBride, he actually ran a 4.56, but when you watch him, he doesn't look that fast. He kind of looks like a big big bruiser, but he was moving at the combine. So big wingspan too. So just a solid player.
Yeah, 4.56 is it's pretty fast. And as Big T say, he's a big whitey. But another one of those is Jeremy Rucker, which I'm not a Jeremy Rucker guy. He didn't make me a ton of money. You know what he did? He tilted me stealing touchdowns from all my Ohio State receivers that I was rostering. So Jeremy Rucker is a guy that leaves a bad taste in my mouth because whenever he did the vulture touchdowns, it frustrated me. Jelani Woods is probably my favorite though. I think he's like the guy that looks like the athletic freak that I was like, man, I can't wait to see this guy at the next level, and probably ends up having a bad injury or something and just is always can't get off the field or get on the field. That's my worry about him. That's what he looks like. Looks like that guy that just looks like a talented freak, and then who knows what ends up happening with him. Definitely think that it's not the greatest tight end draft. We didn't talk about Jalen Windermere that much. I mean, he's a guy that he got some love in DFS. Do you like Windermere at all as a tight end here in this draft?
Yeah, I think he may drop to the last day as well. So yeah, he's solid. Also maybe like a Cole Turner from Nevada. I know he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end, but he's a good player that I could see drafted as well.
Everyone loves Charlie Kohler in the chat. They're talking about him now. So Charlie Kohler was good to us in DFS for sure. So tight end position is pretty fun. Bruce, before we get out of here, any bets that you see on the board? Like I said, I think the Malik Willis one isn't a bad one for the Steelers at the plus 200. We talked about Walker at the top. Like I said, that's a bet I have, but it's hard to give that out anyways right now. What are some bets that you think are good ones to maybe make for this draft that could be good value?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the top 10 groupings, and anything with Walker in there that would make sense, but I didn't see a whole lot that I like there because I really do think Walker's going to go 1. He's minus 220 right now, which is crazy.
What site's that on?
That's on Bovada. I'm just looking at Bovada. Betting isn't legal in Texas, so
yeah. I'm just curious because I'm watching that Steam, right, and I'm hoping on Wednesday I can just have the announcement Walker's going first, and then I'll feel set because I definitely put a pretty good amount on that. I'm going through my bets now to see which ones I have on here. Like I said, I have the Walker one. I did, you know what I did do, Bruce? Because I thought this happens all the time, right? And it's I'm not saying this is the guy that you have to make it with, but you just see overreactions and teams get a little nervous that they can't get their guy. At the 4 spot, I got 20-1 Jameson Williams to go at the 4 spot to the Jets. Such a Jets move to make, right? Just take him in the 4 spot. I could just see them doing it. I not to take him at the 4 spot specifically. It's to be a top 5 pick, right? So I also have that wiggle room of if a team wants to trade up to that 5 spot because the Giants are there, and I could see teams trading up for sure. So I went with that. That's one of mine. I did the quarterback one with the Steelers. I did that at the minus 110 that I thought was pretty good. Let's see. Just going through and see if there's anything else. I did Kyle Hamilton under the 11.5 because there's conversations of Kyle Hamilton basically going to Washington. That seems pretty locked in. Worst case if he's there. So, and he could get taken before. So I did that at that price. You got anything else here, Bruce, that you see that could be interesting?
I like Pickett at number 6 for plus 500 on Bovada. I think that's a solid pick. I think either him or Willis go there. Willis is plus 800.
So you like the idea of putting one of because I don't think these are bad, right? Again, you're not doing a minus 110, right? You're taking long shots, and long shots. Again, there's a lot of unpredictability. So you think the big surprise that we could see in this draft and good betting wise And I mean, hey, it's a tradition we see like any other. Quarterbacks just climbing up the board a couple days leading up. You think the Panthers could just go out of nowhere and take a quarterback, and you think it could be Pickett, you think is the guy?
Yeah, I think Pickett will go one. He's plus 500. That's solid. That's a solid return for me. So enough where I'd put some money on it if I could, of course. Yeah.
All right. Where are you seeing that on Bovada? You said.
Yeah. He's plus 500. Willis is plus 800.
I don't have to shop that around. I like the idea of like taking like a small stab. Again, it doesn't have to be much, right? I mean, you could just put $1 on it and then the return is going to be ridiculous. So you don't have to put that much to be able to get that one home. Depends what your bankroll is. Always be responsible. Don't throw down, a 10 unit banger on that. That's probably not a good idea. So be smart with the way that you're making those wagers. But either way, the draft should be a lot of fun, should be exciting. Bruce, final thoughts kind of before we get on out of here.
No, just interested to see where this all shakes out. This is, like I said, it's the most wide open draft we've had in a long time. So, just looking forward to seeing how it shakes out. This is interesting for sure.
Yep, should be really interesting. Chat, had a good time talking with you guys about the draft. Dante said, did he miss the Kyle Hamilton takes? We didn't talk to, I just mentioned that I have a bet on him at the 11.5 under. So that's my bet. I think he goes to Washington. So that's my thoughts on that. And then I want to mention the scheduling we have for the rest of the day. So we have a lot going on over here at Rumpier Sports. So let me pull it up now just so make sure I get the schedule 100% correct. So actually in 9 minutes, if you really want, and you had a good time with me, come hang out with me and Spread and Tyler. We are going to be talking about the NBA bets for the day. The bet show is going to be a little bit earlier. So I'm going to be there in 9 minutes, breaking that down with the boys. 4:45 on this channel, not the Rumpier Bets channel, the Rumpier Sports channel. It's a big MLB slate. There's some really big prize pools tonight. We got Chris Randone, who's going to be our special guest with DC and Hoop. So be sure to hang out with those guys. Should be a fun time. That's on the YouTube channel. Then the NBA Final Countdown show at 6 o'clock. Big T, JSU, Glock. They'll be on the premium side, breaking it all down for you guys. So if you're a premium member, be sure to get in on that. If you're not a premium member, what are you doing? Go sign up now so you can be able to watch that show live. It's going to be a great time. They will help you break it all down. After that, we got the 8:30. We have the PGA Strokes Gain Show. Snyder, Hoop, and AP, they'll be breaking that all down tonight at 8:30 on the free side. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notified when it goes live. And then, tomorrow I'll be back doing some golf stuff with Hoop. We'll be breaking all that down. So don't miss out on that. Bruce had to drop off because he's got to take care of the termite guy. The dogs are barking. So Bruce is going to take care of all that. I got to get on out of here because I got the bet show. So for me, Mangone, I will see you guys later.